Hi everyone. Today markets did go higher as we expected, and it was pretty much textbook trading here. We gapped up and rallied right to the level 599.64. Talked about that being the next target if 591 broke and held, which it did break here. Continuation right to the level, and then we pulled back slightly from there. 21 EMA held. Is this zone going to hold a higher low in here and then get the continuation? Let's take a look at some of the charts and see if we can figure it out for tomorrow. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Moving over to fear and greed, you can see we did end up at a 37, up from a 31, so big step up. You can see it here on the charts, continuing to jump here. We did eclipse this peak just barely there. That was a 35, now we're at a 37, so nice little jump there. Still fear on momentum, strength and breadth not really going with it, still in extreme fear. Strength did show the very slightest little step there, still going down but not as fast. Breadth still ticking higher but no change on the indicator. Put call ratio actually stepped down a little bit. Interesting. Volatility going flat, still in that 16-ish area. We'll look at that chart later. And then safe haven demand still in fear. Did step up a little bit, and then junk bonds still in greed, continuing to trend down a little bit further actually. So again, still mixed markets, kind of looks like a bit of a recovery, but we're just not there yet with strength and breadth in extreme fear. Moving over to the seasonality chart, you can see the next step is supposed to be quite bearish. So we were expecting flat on seasonality to a little bit bullish, and now into that Tuesday session a little bit bearish. So we'll see if that plays out. 2 steps to bearish there until the 8th, and then that's supposed to be the relative low, and then continuation rallies for the rest of the month based on this chart. Moving over to the economic calendar, global services PMI well above the 50 line but worse than expectations. 3-year note auction a little bit higher than the previous read as well. Interesting there. For the Tuesday, CPI for the Eurozone, a little bit of economic data, and then that first look at the jobs with the JOLTS job openings at 10 o'clock. Moving over to the charts, looking at the S&Ps, you can see we did get a nice up day, 0.5% there, but we ended up finding resistance at the 21 EMA. It's up a smidgen after hours. Want to see it push through these trends. This could just be an initial touch. Momentum stepping to bullish, RSI breaking out. Everything says this should go a little bit higher over the next day or two potentially. And then you'll see here the next target is that 601 area, the low of this kind of consolidation zone. Overall structure still bullish. We had the breakdown of the 55, but we've seen that before. If you look back here in September, broke this structure here, touched the trend, continued. And then you have this trend here, which seems to be your current support, which is all the way down at 586 for now, but you have a clean double bottom, nice bounce from there. Want to see it break the midpoint here and then look for the continuation higher. If it breaks through this structure here, then your upper trend limit would be up around 623 potentially. So definitely looking for that move. Want to participate if we end up getting that kind of a move, but right now your trend resistance for tomorrow is going to be that 598.72 area. And then looking at the short time frame, just like we talked about in the intro, clean move, gapped, rallied, hit the level perfectly, 599.64, rejected from there. So you have a clean level there. If it breaks through there, want to see some of these other levels go. And looking at that trend here, we are right at it, looks perfect. You can see it here, touch the level, overthrew it, touch that deeper level. Want to see it get above that hold continuation. If it rejects from there again, that could be a little bit bearish, and then you'd be looking for 591 as your support. And then looking at the Tasty charts here, you can see we did actually jump back into bearish conditions right at the end of the session with that dip low here, 3 bear candles, slight retracement. So now your ATR trailing stop is going to be 599.68, which is right at that level that we talked about. But understand that this is a mixed condition because on the 4-hour chart, you're still in bullish conditions after the move here today, pushing up to that upper ATR band. Current trend support would be that 589.50 level. So definitely a little bit of mixed signals between the hourly and the 4-hour. Then moving over to the NASDAQ, you can see we did touch that upper trend lines. We definitely thought we were going to get there today based on what I was looking at. These trends here, it got the gap up, got the push to that level. Now, is it going to break through there? Again, it's up a little bit after hours, but this is the trend area that we've rejected the last 2 times. If it does gap down or if it does start to sell from here, that's going to be concerning. This looks a little bit different from the SPY charts. We're above that 21, we're above VWAP, above the 9 EMA. Momentum and RSI both look bullish. RSI breaking out just barely on good volume. Everything says this should go a little bit higher. The wick rejection is a little bit concerning. The high of the day was all the way up at 527.92 and we ended up at 524. Again, we had those 3 big bear candles. And you can see those here on the short time frames. Touch this zone here, overthrew the level 526.50. Thought we might get the continuation to 530. 530 with how strong it was looking in here at 527. Thought we might get a little bit more push into here. Ended up giving that back. And then you can see huge volume on the buying candle, good close, 2 up candles in the after hours. Selling just a little bit on that third, but it's still up after hours. I think we're going to go higher in tomorrow's session. Want to see it get above here, 526.50. If it can hold above that level and start to look for the push through these next levels, 530 or 533 potentially. You can see that next high here was that 530 level. So looking to see if we can get that in tomorrow. Momentum and RSI in the short time frame is a little bit bearish, but that's just because we were so extended. You can see we got all the way up to an 82 on the RSI. Makes sense that we had a little bit of a pullback. Is it a pullback in time? Is it just a short-term consolidation? Or is this going to be a culmination and this is now starting to be a lower high and a sell? Definitely something to watch for. Moving over to the Tasty charts here for the Qs, you can see on the 4-hour chart, bullish conditions, really good buy price there, got lucky I guess. And then you can see big rallies here, right up through to that upper ATR band, 527.84, touched that level, touched the 8 EMA, bounced from there, want to see a continuation back to that upper level. This will continue to grind higher in my opinion, bullish conditions. And then looking at that hourly chart just to see if we are still in bullish conditions, and we definitely are. So NASDAQ, strong bullish across the board, holding up above that 8 EMA, 524.72. Again, good volume on the last candle, which was a buying candle. Want to see the continuation to that upper band, 529-ish in there, which would take us right back to that previous high from the early part of today's session. Makes sense that we pulled back a little bit. You can see how extended we were in the short time frames. Again, this looks like a short-term pullback. I think we'll get a little bit more upside in tomorrow's session. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow. Russell managed to stay positive just barely, 0.04, only 9 cents on the day. Pushed to that 226 level, overthrew it. The high of day was 227.17 and then closed nearly unchanged. Not what you would have wanted to see. I was hoping for the breakout, which we did have, and then we gave it all back. Momentum still stepping to bullish, RSI still stepping to bullish, but this is not as strong as I wanted. And then looking at the Dow, actually negative on the day, just 3 cents. Still holding level, 426.20. Touched that level and bounced a little bit from there. Momentum and the RSI both saying the same thing here. Stepping to bullish slightly, but not as strongly as I would have wanted to see. Moving over to the Mag 7, positive day here, 2% up after hours. Everything looks good. Stepping to bullish on momentum. RSI still hasn't quite touched that SMA, so I would expect at least a touch of that before we see a change in direction. So at least a little bit more bullish, but realistically, I want to see it break out, maybe retest continuation back to overbought conditions. Overall, still looks good. Looking for a touch of the trend here, up around that 335 level, which is just short of your all-time high. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft, both of these were positive, 0.67 and 1% respectively. You can see momentum not really bullish here yet, but we talked about the level, we talked about the trends for 241.83, gapped up, bullish candle, looking for at least a test of that 21 EMA, which is right now at 249.65, so I would expect at least a little bit more bullishness. If we reject from there, that's going to be terrible. If it breaks through here, probably pushing back to the all-time highs at 260. And then looking at Microsoft, massive wick on the day, which is interesting. So 434.32 was the high, and we ended up closing at 427. So more than 1% lower. You can see to the top, that's about 1.5%. We were up 2.5% at one point to finish just 1% higher. Filled some gaps here, didn't fill this gap back from the 26th to 27th. Want to see it touch the trend at least. But looking at that here on the hourly chart just for a moment, you can see almost touched that 200, rejected from this level here, 429, closed below it, 21 EMA held, rallied into the close. Kind of mixed signals. You have a rejection, but you're holding this higher low here. If the 21 breaks, that's going to be concerning. So right now that's 427.42, and you're just below the level. So probably a little bit short-term bearish, but volume came through. If it can break 429, I think we can get through that 200 on the second push. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA, both of these had decent days. Tesla was up just 0.15, touched level 414.50 like we expected it to. Overthrew it to the 21 VWAP 9 area. Momentum stepping to bullish, but could not close above it. It's actually down a little bit after hours, so not great there either. And then looking at NVIDIA, had a great day, nearly 4%. It was up a lot, almost touched the all-time high wick there. I took profits on this trade. It hit my target. I was expecting a touch of this kind of consolidation high. My level was 149.65. We got there. Good profits, good take on the trade. But it is up a little bit after hours. If you can get through here and hold, maybe we look for some continuation breakout in tomorrow's session. I'll be patient on this. I had a good trade yesterday into today, and I'm not going to be too aggressive getting back into this, depending on what the price action looks like tomorrow. Moving over to Amazon and Alphabet, 1.5% and 2.5% respectively. Both of these looked really good, gapped through the trends, this kind of short-term down structure here, pushed through it here, and then rallied up. Continuations up after hours, looking for a trend touch up here around 202.50 on Google, and then the level here for Amazon is the all-time high at 233, which is your high back from 16 December. Both of these look good. Momentum stepping to bullish, RSI is breaking out, so Mag 7 continues to look good, and as long as the Mag 7 looks good, the NASDAQ should go with it. Moving over to Meta and Broadcom. Meta up 4.25%, absolutely massive. I guess this was the best on the day. Clean break through the trend, clean break through the structure here. Very, very strong move. We talked about this going to the trend after the break of the 602.95 level. We closed above it on the Friday, ended up getting a massive run here, and it's up after hours. Probably going to touch at least the all-time high, probably going to go higher. It's up nearly $3 after hours, so very, very strong there. And then Broadcom, doji candle, but up 1.66%. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. We'll see how it goes here. Still in the same kind of consolidation, still holding up pretty well. And again, it's up about $1 after hours. Moving over to staples and discretionaries. Staples selling off 1%, discretionaries up about 0.39. Momentum stepping to bullish on discretionaries, gapped right to the level. Gapped above the trend, pulled back to it, want to see it hold that, and then continue higher to the 21 tomorrow. And you can see staples fell right to this next level. So based on the rules, we had the rejection here, continuation to the lower level. It continues to play as a bear trend. Thought we might see this hold as soon as this went in today's session, pushed straight through. Now you're looking for the trend break if it's going to get there at 76.40. This continues to say to me, markets are still willing to take some risk. We're not willing to accept staples as a better option quite yet. So we'll see how it plays out. Right now, markets are still looking for a little bit of risk. This is still super overbought now at a 27.79 on the RSI. And you can absolutely trade this off of the 70.50 level. We touched it today, held it on a closing basis. If you want to try to trade it in here, certainly a possibility. But in the short term, I would be patient at that level. Medium term, it's probably not a terrible idea to get in, or maybe continue to average in over time depending on what your trade horizon is. Moving over to best and worst sectors, we got semiconductors up 3.3%, really good move there, up a little bit more after hours. It's right at these wick highs from October and November. If it can get through there, the next level is up at 279 for me. That's back to basically the all-time highs back here. So see if that can play out. Looks good, being patient at that clear level here. And then real estate not doing great, down 1.3%. It's interesting to see that markets are really not willing to reward yields yet, even with yields potentially going lower next year and the year after based on what the FOMC is saying. But real estate down about 11% from its most recent high. Again, I am buying things with yields for the medium term. I still think this is a decent opportunity. The yields on this are about 4.5% on real estate, pretty much in line with bonds. And I still think those will outperform the medium term just based on valuations. Moving over to RIOT and Mara, you can see these were both up a little bit, 4.5%, just about the same evenly on these two. So 4.5%, basically flat after hours. Want to see it push to 14.18 on RIOT. And still looking for this kind of consolidation zone in here, 2130, 2150, somewhere in here for Mara. Both of them closed pretty close to the top of the candle. Mara looks a little bit stronger on the candle close, but RIOT looks better on the structure. Still looking for a push there to 1418. If we get the continuation, which I do think is going to happen, that's about 10% higher. So RIOT looks good for continuation. Momentum and RSI both look bullish. Moving over to Breadth. Breadth did go much higher on the day, 22% higher on 20-day Breadth. Got into the 36 area. It's still very low relative to where it's been. We were up in the 80s just a couple of days ago, it feels like, back at the end of November. I guess that's a little bit more than a month ago now, but back here into the 27 to 30 range. Want to see it continue higher, at least to the 50 range. If this is the rejection, we should be bracing for a big down move, but honestly, momentum and RSI both look good. Everything looks like this should continue higher, back into these at least normal ranges, 60 to 70, somewhere in here. Then we'll see what happens from there. Is it going to reject off this trend line? That's also a possibility. Been watching that for a long time. Kind of overthrew it here, and then we broke back down below it. And then looking at 50-day, completely unchanged on the day, 0-0 across the board. Interesting to see that. Did push all the way up to a 29.62. Momentum bullish, RSI still bullish, but not nearly as strong here as the 20-day. Interesting, kind of the difference between the tech sector and what looks to be more like the Russell on the day. So interesting, still looks good. I want to see it hold in here and continue higher. As long as it doesn't crash from here, we should be in good shape. And the momentum says it should continue higher from here. And moving over to the 200-day breath, I just wanted to highlight that this was actually negative on the day, pretty substantially so, 3.64%. So this is not going with the current move, just something to consider in the background. My guess is that this is going to be a short-term rally, which we've been talking about for a while. Where is it going to reject from? We don't know quite yet. But right now, 200-day breath is not going with the current rally. And then moving over here to the dollar. The dollar did fall pretty aggressively today, so that did help with the rally. And then you can see early in the session, actually, 8 o'clock, we had a little bit of a reversal here. Want to see it reject from here. Want to see the dollar go a little bit lower. It was down about 0.5% on the day. It's right at the trend now. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. If the dollar can continue to sell here a little bit, that would give equities a little bit of strength. And I do think that it can do it. 2 down days, expected one more. The level was 108.04. Touched that level here, consolidated just below it, and then rallied from there. We'll see. Touch these levels here. Maybe need to move that level, but either way, if it gets into here and can sell off a little bit more, that would be great. Daily momentum says that it should. Then moving over to bonds, JNK saying risk on is still in play, up 0.11 on the day. Momentum bullish, RSI still bullish. Right to this zone here, I want to see it push to 96.5. And then TLT sold off a little bit here today, about 0.5%, still looking for the trend as some potential support. Fairly significant, it did close below all of these levels, big new wick there. Took out this level back here. Now your next low is all the way back to this time frame here, which was the October of 23 lows. Let's go full screen on that to give you some perspective. We're getting close to this zone here. We're not quite there. That's the 8260 level. 8590 is a level for me in here as well. Either way, I think this is a good medium-term buying opportunity. I still think this is really eventually going to push back into that 102, 103 area. So like I said, decent buying opportunity for the medium term. Just make sure you understand your horizon. This could absolutely continue to go lower in the short term. Moving over to the VIX. VIX was negative on the day, 0.11. Honestly, I thought it would be a little bit more negative, but momentum bearish, RSI bearish, still looking for a touch of the trend here at 15 or so. So at least one more candle, touch that zone if it's going to do it. And then if it breaks through to the downside, that would give us a little bit more upside. If it holds this higher low setup, that's going to be the turning point for markets, and then we'll see what happens after that. Moving over to my accounts, I rolled up and out for the pretty much everything here. I took off the NVIDIA shares, took profits on those. You can see made $21 here on the Russell, which was actually up only 9 cents, so good on that. And then the Qs up about $6, made $700 on the day. Most of that was NVIDIA, so NVIDIA helping cover down on the gains. And then I did end up selling the 517s here for $10, just about $10 credit, giving me room up to that next resistance, which was in the 526.50 area. If we rally through to that level, great. I do have some puts here to try to catch that rally a little bit more, about $1.60 in credit on that, trying to catch that move. So pretty solidly bullish going into tomorrow's session. And you can see after hours we're up about 75 cents, so we did get a little bit more upturn there. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of markets. How much further can we go higher? In the short term, is it going to turn, or are we going to go to higher highs? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.